How the residents are just.
Let me double check here and we'll be good. Okay, we're good.
Oh, I gotta find my microphone. Good morning. We are here for Iron County Commission meeting. Today is Monday, the 26th of February. We're going to start out this morning. Excuse me. I've asked Pastor Jerry Van Iwarden if he'd lead us in the prayer this morning, and Chuck Waddell if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we come to you on this great Monday morning, and we are looking forward to the business that they do here at the County Commission. I want to thank you for giving us the county commissioners that we needed at this time. I want to thank you, too, for imparting the wisdom and knowledge to them for so many complex matters. I also want to ask that you would protect them. Protect them as they travel, protect them in their homes, protect them in every way, and especially their business or enterprises. I just ask that you would bless them while they serve us. And so we are so thankful to be living here in Iron County, and we just want to thank you for putting us here in Iron County. And we ask that you would bless all of those on the county administration staff and just continue to have them have a vision for the future of our great county. And so I'm asking all of this now in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right, let's start out with our
Minutes?
minutes. Minutes of February 12th, 2024. Everybody had a chance to peruse those, and
We had a couple changes.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th, 2024.
Second?
I'm going to abstain because I was absent from that meeting and not sure what happened.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I said aye out of habit, but I didn't say aye, John.
I got you. You said abstain first.
I said abstain first. All right. And then approval for claims for payment from February 12th, 2024 to February 25th, 2024.
I would move for approval of claims for payment from February 12th, 2024 to February 25th, 2024.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We're going to deviate just a little bit from our department head reports this morning. Since we've got our Veterans Association folks here to lead us in the prayer and pledge, we're going to just turn a little bit of time over. They just wanted to give us an update on their project as long as they're here. So we'll get them up first, and you guys can get in and get out.
I'm Jerry Van Iwarden, Vice President of the Southern Utah Veterans Association, and I served in the U.S. Navy for 12 years. I was a reactor supervisor on nuclear submarines. And so I feel very strongly about people with PTSD. And as I've often said before, my daughter is a 911 dispatcher in San Diego for the police department, and she has PTSD. So we need to think about beyond veterans and just start thinking about the whole community that oftentimes suffers from this particular disorder. So what we have presented you with, there's a package on each one of your desks, and I've got a cover letter on there that just encapsulates everything that we've got in the documents that are attached with it. And there's been some changes since we were here last, and probably you can read the document at your leisure. There's also biographical information on Chuck Waddell, and so we feel that this is a positive addition to Iron County and the surrounding area. And I want to personally thank, and we corporately want to thank Commissioner Cousins, sorry, Paul.
All works.
Commissioner Cousins for putting us in touch with Spencer Jones of Velocity. And we have been able to receive a grant to purchase. Memorandum of Understanding is being developed by Tyler Melling. And so we will be doing 20 acres up over on Ravine Road and Old Highway 91. And so then at the very back of your handouts, there is a map of its location. And we neglected to bring the conceptual drawings for in this package. And so what I'll do is I will be sending those to the county clerk, and he will distribute them to each one of you, because we have conceptual site plans that indicate where the actual building is for the Veterans Arts Center. It's about 35,000 square feet. Then we will also be on that same property within sight of the interstate. We will be putting a full-size replica of the Vietnam Wall, and we are in the process of obtaining the license for the names. And so we think that that will be a great addition there. And also we have on the conceptual plan, it will show you that there is a approximately 300-seat amphitheater that is going to take advantage of the topography. And so we will have more to come in the time to be. But one of the things to note is if you go into town and go to Ace Hardware, and if you go into the lobby, you will see Jacob Dean's sculpture, which we have commissioned, and it's a sculpture of PTS Man. And so he actually modeled it on a local veteran that was suffering badly with PTSD. And as I travel around and talk with the administration at Intermountain Health, the Cedar City Hospital, they are becoming overwhelmed with mental health needs. It seems to be one of the biggest things in our county right now, and indeed across the nation. And so we have been talking with Benjamin Swank, and he would like to obtain use of the facility on an occasional basis for pediatric suicidal kids. I can't imagine, but I am told by Cindy Wallace, that the former director of nursing, that there are oftentimes children as young as 5 that are contemplating suicide. So we want to be a resource not just to veterans, but to all persons who are suffering from the effects of PTSD. So we're giving you this packet so that you can take a look at it. We have the agreement with Spencer Jones. He's been very gracious and easy to work with. Thank you, Paul. And it's going to be a great site right there, because I think in the UDOT master plan there's a interchange scheduled for there, and so it'll be dumped right onto Ravine Road, and so that's going to be perfect. So We're pursuing this. We went to the state senate, and I talked with President Stuart Adams. I talked also to Senator Evan Vickers and also Representative Shipp. And so we also dropped off information with Governor Cox and with Lieutenant Governor Henderson. And so at a meeting down here in Cedar City at SUU, when they did the installation of the Home Builders Board of Directors, then I had a chance to talk to Governor Cox, and he says that he really wants to be informed. So President Benson does too. So we're getting the word out, and so as soon as we get a little bit further along, then we'll be moving to the solicitation for donations at that time, and we're formulating on how to actually do that. So we'll just see as time develops what happens. We're looking at a total project cost here of about $10 million. And so, like I used to say when I did high-rise construction on Pensacola Beach, if you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. So we need to do it. The area needs it. There's also an upcoming meeting, by the way, that we are a key part of, and it's related to the construction progress of the Veterans Cemetery. We submitted a name change. They had called it the Cedar City National Cemetery. We suggested the name Southern Utah National Cemetery because then that will serve veterans further out and around. So that's under consideration. So right now it's still the Cedar City National Cemetery.
Excuse me. It is not. They accepted our name.
Oh, they accepted our name?
They did.
Okay. So it is now the Southern Utah National Cemetery. So
Awesome.
These kind of projects with the heart of this community, which is incredible, are just getting things done that are so good for our citizens. And so do you have any questions?
I did have one comment. Have you had a chance to meet with Carl Albrecht? He actually is another representative in the
I know he
industry
is.
class.
Where is he out of Richfield?
He is, but we ought to introduce you to him.
Okay, please.
He's really wonderful.
Yeah.
You would enjoy working with him.
Yeah,
Kindred spirits, I would dare say.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to catch him when I was up at the state capitol.
Yeah.
So
We ought to.
It's actually Enoch. So
He is?
he
Yeah,
is.
he covers
goes
the
down.
eastern part,
Yeah.
okay, I saw his name. He's
Part of Iron County. So
he's
he would be
in
a good
District
one
70.
to be in touch
So
with.
I know Rex is District 71, and I've known Rex for a long time. I've never met Mr. Albrecht, but we can certainly get in touch with him.
I think
If
he'd be
you
a
could give
resource.
me that information, John, I would appreciate it.
Is that business card you gave me? Does it have? It does have your cell on there.
Yes.
I'll reach out to you.
Okay.
Let's make that happen.
I can give you another one.
I've got the one. I'm good. I mean, I can. Is there a different number on this other one?
No.
Okay.
I wind up getting involved in many things. So that's got my cell and my email.
Wow, thank you. That's exciting.
It is exciting.
Awesome. Very cool.
I know we haven't started asking for money yet, so that's when we'll probably hear about the bad points. But we're continuing to push forward. Aim at nothing, hit it every time.
Good job.
We should ask them if they would join us for the meeting tomorrow night at the hotel about the cemetery if they want.
That's March.
That's what I say, see if they want to come to that meeting on March 5th.
March the 5th?
Yeah.
Okay, there will be a meeting. Tony Broderick of the National Cemetery Administration of the Veterans Administration has asked for a meeting of all those that in government and in service organizations that wish to attend with himself and also with Hugo. Carrazzo, his deputy, and so we're going to be meeting at the Marriott on March the 5th in the evening at 7 o'clock. So
that-
it'll be
that's
a
the
relatively-
GOP caucus that night. I don't know.
Yeah, we're probably all going to be tied up in that.
in
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Well, we'll get out.
We'll be there in spirit.
Okay, that'd be great. We'll get the news back out to you, and that's about the cemetery. So it's
How hard would it
already
be to
under
change that?
construction.
How hard would it be to change that time?
So that we could be there.
That's a big night for the caucus.
Okay.
meetings.
There'll be a lot
I didn't
of
know
people
that.
there. Yeah.
What time would you guys be there, 6 o'clock?
Well, the caucus will
It's
go
all
from
night.
6 till probably
It's all
9.
night.
Be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's till late.
Okay.
So if you can change it, we'd be glad to come to it.
Yeah,
So
we'll
maybe-
get you some information. The date was set by Tony Broderick from
Okay.
the cemetery administration, so we didn't set the date. So we'll just accommodate him.
Yeah, we could
Uh,
probably come to it.
He's going to be here during
Earlier.
the day. Would you guys like to, would you like to meet with him or,
You have the meeting earlier in the day?
well, yeah, we could do lunch.
That would work.
That'd
Okay.
work.
I think.
We'll nail down the schedule and I'll send it to John. And then if you could
Good.
disseminate that.
Yeah.
Or my favorite military word, promulgate the information.
Get away.
Okay, anything else?
No, I think we got it.
Okay.
Thank you. No, we
Thank you
appreciate
very much,
you guys.
commissioners.
You
Thank you,
bet.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to John. Are you ready for the clerk's office report?
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
guys.
I really appreciate Jerry. I worked with him at Metalcraft many years ago. One of my favorite. Appreciate the good work they're doing. I don't want to take too much time, especially where we kind of are running slow. Just to report on, we actually have a current election happening right now. It's the presidential primary. We sent out about 2,000 Democratic ballots. Whereas the Republicans are going to do caucus night, the Democrats are doing a regular ballot. Those have been coming in. We have all the regular protocols. You'll notice that your door key
Where's your
doesn't work.
lock?
Yeah. And we'll have the canvas for that on, I believe, March 19th. It's been going well. It's actually a good one for us to kind of hone up a little bit because this will be a big year for elections. The office is doing well. And I just wanted to say a little, I really appreciate Mike dragging me along on the legislative adventures that we've had, and I actually really kind of enjoy it. I enjoy kind of building those relationships with the representatives and the senators, and they say it's not what you know, but who, and that's certainly been the case, and it's fun to be a part of it. And when I talk to my fellow clerks, I tell them, hey, you know what? Legislators are just people, and you need to be, build up a good relationship with them. And so often, as county representatives, we are, for lack of a better word, their expert witness. So we need to be confident. We need to tell them the way it is and explain what we're up against with counties. And I've been grateful for the most part they listen to us. So anyway, that's it. You have any questions for me? Oh,
No.
sorry, I did want to cover one other thing. So far on the year, clerk is at 12.78% spent out of our total year budget. Elections are at 5.77, but we haven't really spent much yet on that. That represents mainly salaries. And then we ended last year at 99.45% for clerk, 98.06 with non-departmental, which I'm probably one of the smaller spenders of the non-departmental monies, but I'm a part of that. And then for elections, we ended at 89.03. I won't even talk about the sewer service expenses. We kind of use linear regression to come up with a number, and that's our best guess. But it that varies on, especially with a lot of growth. The more houses that are built, the weirder our budget starts to look because we have more revenues but also more expenses. But that's all within line on last year's budget and this year's budget as well. Everybody does a great job with that. We appreciate Luke kind of helping us keep that lined out. Now, any questions?
No, but thanks for going with Mike.
It really was my pleasure. We've had a good time, and
Thanks, Mike, for going.
Mike's
Legislature. That was really good thing for you guys to go up there.
we get along well, and
Helpful.
it's a lot of hours in the car and for a couple of minutes of fireworks, but it's good to do. And so much of that stuff kind of happens behind the scenes, as you well know, and we appreciate Mike and
Well, and
his sister-in-law Jody has been good to take us under her wing. She's a lobbyist up there, so.
Yeah.
the sheriff's not here, or Shalon, but we've dragged Sheriff Carpenter and Lieutenant Shaver with us,
Yep.
and they've been invaluable as far as
And like I said,
disseminating good information and
promulgating.
promulgating. They've both been really awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
George, welcome George Colson from Emergency Management to the hot seat.
Morning, commissioners. We didn't use big words like promulgate in the Army. We just said get her done.
Could you pronounce big words like that?
No,
Okay, just checking.
You're like an infantry guy, weren't you? You weren't managing nuclear reactors.
no, I was not. I was trying to manage a
Be
bunch
careful.
of draftees. So I'll start with the, and I appreciate the work they do with PTSD. Fortunately, my family said I didn't have to worry about that. I was sufficiently messed up before I went in the Army, and so anyway. So going to the budget first, last year's budget I was at 98.16, so I came in under budget. This year I'm at 15.88. However, that's somewhat, it's not quite a good picture because the majority of that is I own all the public safety repeaters, and so that's rental for the repeaters. So that's quite a bit of that 15%. So anyway, so I'll go to my normal report. So I continually try to, I continue to try to work with the tribe, and so in doing that, I attended a tribal council meeting here back in December, and I'm planning to do some CERT training with the tribe. They've got a new emergency manager, and she's really wants to, push out into the community, and so I'm working with that and pulling the tribe into as much community and county business as I possibly can. The law enforcement has been building IFACs, the individual first aid kits for their officers, the different agencies, and I've been working with the health department and with the different law enforcement agencies to make sure that they have the equipment they need for their IFACs. So I've been providing tourniquets to SUU and Cedar City PD, as well as the sheriff's office. I attended the Paiute Clinic opening. They opened a brand new clinic. Some of you stopped by. It's a beautiful clinic, and I was there at the opening. I held my annual volunteer dinner in December, which is always good. I served as an evaluator for the active shooter exercise for Intermountain Health down in St. George at the big hospital. I sponsored a CERT medical training. I attended the Pipeline Safety Conference, made sure that my EMPG grant, which pays for part of my salary, is up to date and complete. I acquired a mobile morgue for the county. Commissioner Blake's excited about that. He wants to get it
where he
staffed.
works.
He wants to get it staffed as soon as possible.
Staff. I do. I've reached out to other investigators, local law enforcement folks. We're going to try and figure out a was the snow supposed to fly again this week?
Yes, tomorrow, starting tomorrow.
And so as we're hoping that might be the end of it, and we'll break that thing out of the box when we're not freezing to death.
Well, it holds 12 bodies, and it's got its own compressor, so you can keep them fresh. If you hot bunk them, you can get 24 in there.
Let's not jinx ourselves.
So I got a call back in January on the night of the 20th. I got a late night call from Chief Phillips from Cedar Fire saying, George, I need you to call the governor's office and get the CST down here. And that was the Canyon View Middle School problem they were having with carbon monoxide poisoning. So I called the governor's office, requested the 85th CST to come down, and Commissioner Blake and I spent much of the next day walking around with the 85th and watching them do their thing. Amazingly, if you're interested in what the outcome of that was, Cedar Fire went through there probably 10 times and could find absolutely nothing. The 85th came down, and Cedar Fire can do parts per million. The 85th can do parts per billion. And that's not just that's a huge increase, and they could find nothing. So it still remains a mystery at the moment. So we don't know. But it ended up approximately 80 people were complaining of symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, and I think 55 were actually treated with hyperbaric chamber regimens. I held my ECOM winter field days where I got all my emergency communications out, and they set up their towers and communicated with the world. And they literally communicate with the world. They talk to Australia and Japan and all over Europe. So we're ready. If the towers ever go down, we can still communicate with the world. I attended PIO training down in St. George, a regional PIO training. I remain the PIO for emergency management, so that's fine. That's not a problem. We've had a problem, and Commissioner Blake's, I've made him aware of this. The state, apparently the feds cut off the Narcan funding, and the state pulled what funding there was left back to the state, which leaves local law enforcement, especially in small counties, really hard pressed because those things are, a dose of Narcan is relatively expensive, anywhere from $40 to $80. And Chief Adams here, in just for instance, in Parowan, he used 6 doses on one guy in one day. So you can imagine for a small department that can run into some serious money. So I've been working with the state health department. I ordered more Narcan for our local law enforcement. I ordered it last week. I'll see if I get it. I'm going to give them a couple of weeks. And then I've already talked to Senator Vickers about this problem. I've talked to the state director of emergency medical services about the problem. So there's a lot of people who are aware of it. And last but not least, we're working with FEMA for our damage reports for our money. On the 21st, we had our initial call, and I sent my initial report to them. On the 23rd, we had our face-to-face last week. They were very happy with the way Iron County's going about it. Matter of fact, they kept using the word refreshing. They were expecting us to try to gouge them, and I said that was not our intent. Our intent was just to recover unprogrammed monies that we had to expend for an emergency. I said that's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to get rich off of you guys. And they said that was highly unusual. So they said that if we continue along this track, and they sent me a whole stack of papers again this morning to fill out, so I'll be getting with Bruce and Justin on Thursday. They said we may wrap this up by April and maybe start getting some money in the very near future instead of waiting a year, 18 months. I spent yesterday writing I thought they were going to turn us down for the trail work that Mike Worthen is projecting because it's not county land, it's BLM land, and I thought that they were going to do that. And I explained to them that we've had a verbal agreement, but I talked to Sam last week, and I thought, well, if we have a formal MOU to back up that verbal, maybe they'll do it. And I proposed that to FEMA, and they agreed. They said yes, they will go ahead and count that in as long as we have that MOU. So I spent yesterday writing 6 pages of BLM legalese to send to FEMA and to the BLM. Sam says that apparently my legalese is sufficient. Thank you. Well, I started out law enforcement with the Arizona Attorney General, so I can write legalese. But anyway, so I talked to FEMA this morning. I'm going to send that draft copy up just so they'll have it, and we're going to go forward with that. So we got our next meeting. We have our next face-to-face here on the 8th of next month, and at 10 o'clock here in the courthouse. And it looks like we're going ahead really good. So other than that, any questions?
And I want to, so when I was back in D.C. A couple of weeks ago at the NACO Legislative Conference, one of the meetings that I attend is a FEMA meeting, and they were kind of rolling out, like, they've kind of, I don't know what you call it, a brochure or whatever it is, they've got kind of this new set of, these are considerations in your FEMA, you know, when you're making a FEMA request, these are, and I'm texting George and sending him screenshots of the slides and everything else, and George is like, "Oh, I already know that. I've already read the book. The application's already done." Like, it's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. It's already covered." Like, awesome. I quit texting furiously. I'm like, we got it." So that was also very refreshing because they're up there kind of making it doom and gloom. You know, you got to have this, you got to have this, and this is going to be a reason for denial and da 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 da. Well, George is like, "Oh, no, I already got all that figured out. We're fine." So
well, and they said to me, they said, you know, it's you're not yelling at us and you're not being non-cooperative. And I said, I want money from you. Why would I be otherwise? Why would I be hostile? I want money. So no, they.
So I have a question. Is there a meeting tomorrow for FEMA at Enoch? I have that on my calendar.
That's a FEMA course. It's
it's a course.
Right. Texas A&M is running a course for Rob.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
All right.
Any other questions? And thank you, Commissioner.
that was just what happened.
Appreciate it.
That's how it went down.
Good job. Thanks, George.
All right.
Oh,
thank you.
Thanks, George.
David Johnson with Economic Development. Come on down.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad I can finally come and introduce myself a little bit to you. So I was told to give a brief update, but I figure I'll start with an intro since it's my first time in front of you. So my name is David Johnson. I'm actually a son of a 20-year vet, so grew up in the military, went to 10 different schools by the time I graduated high school. So seeing these gentlemen here was a little bit of a flashback for me, but it's been about 25 years since then. I'm married, 4 kids, and hopefully settling down here in Iron County. I was previously the city manager of Blanding, Utah, and worked actually with Phil Lyman, with the Lieutenant Governor, Navajo Nation, on some pretty large-scale, multi-million-dollar projects that benefited the city as well as the county and Navajo Nation. So that was fun to work on. Prior to that, I was the Economic Development Director for Saratoga Springs, Utah. So I went from Saratoga Springs to Blanding. Imagine Saratoga Springs growing 3,000 residents a year down to Blanding growing less than 1%, I think it was at the time. So and my wife and I have clearly decided that Cedar City's a balance between the two, right? Not too fast growth, but we still get the rural life and all the outdoor amenities that we love and everything. So, in fact, when I was in Saratoga Springs, I was not only over economic development, I was over events, and I was the public relations director. So I was the PIO for police, fire, and the city. So, and I had the pleasure of working on Patriot Park, which was a new baseball complex that we actually did a veterans monument there. It was the first time I was able actually to honor my father as a veteran. So it's great to see that same spirit here in Iron County. So, so on to a little bit of an update. So with me as the new economic development director, saddling between, obviously Iron County and Cedar City. First, I should thank the county because I understand that you've increased your contribution to help us in economic development, and jumping in these last couple of months or the last few months, it's severely needed. There's a lot that I'm doing. It's definitely drinking from a fire hose. Danny was the man, Danny Stewart, and I'm glad he's still here. Him and I talk on multiple times a weekly basis, trying to get projects to come here to Cedar City and Iron County in this area, because this is a fantastic area where we're 1 day's trucking from every major market, airport, rail service. In fact, Savage is going to be doing sometime this summer, more details to come, a ribbon cutting for their new transloading facility. BZI has also done a transloading facility, but as I like to joke, BZI does everything. So if there's something that's needed in the county that's not done, BZI just starts a new business and addresses that issue for us. It's very, very apparent. With some of the increased funding that we're receiving from the county, we're actually able to join the Aerospace and Defense Association here in Utah called 47G, which will be huge because there is a focus down here on aerospace and defense. And so being able to work with them and get the connections nationally that we need to hopefully draw in some of those businesses. I've actually had, even prior to them, those types of businesses already reach out to me and have interests in Iron County. On a smaller level, we just got done doing the Iron County Small Business Rural Grant. All those words are in there, whichever order, I can't remember exactly. And this afternoon, I'll be making calls. So we had a multiple process where we had pre-applications, full applications, and those were kind of vetted, and then they were eventually presented to our Economic Development Board, and the board last week took those 10 presentations where they actually came in and whittled those down to 5. And this afternoon, hopefully I can call them all. I'm trying to call them personally to let them know whether or not they received the grant funding. We received double last year. Last year was the first year, 22 applications. This year we received 46 applications, and I think it was like $1.5 million in requests for $60,000. So we're going to try and see if we can get an increase in that funding for the future, because clearly the 10 presentations, there's not one of them that we would have funded and not been satisfied with. So it was really hard to narrow it down to just a few. Other than that, I think one of the appeals to me coming to Iron County is there's a lot of great things happening here. The thing that's impressed me the most is I've never seen such level of collaboration. Usually I'm always fighting wherever I've been to collaborate and work together and get things done. And there's a lot of collaboration here, and it's been great. I've had so many people reach out to me and offer a hand, and I very much appreciate it. And other than that, that's all I have, unless there's any questions. Okay, well, I have more meetings to run to, so I'm gonna.
Good job.
All right.
Going.
And
Thank you. Please give me a
I
holler if
appreciate
you need
Dave.
anything.
We've actually spent quite a bit of time together in the last few weeks, and he's the right guy for the job. I'm really glad that we were able to lasso you in.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I joke that economic development and is more the fun stuff rather than having your head on a chopping block as a city manager. Economic development's way more enjoyable. I learned that pretty quick. In fact, I didn't mention, since I've been here, I got here in November. My family got here in January. We've already responded to over a half a dozen RFIs that the state's put out, plus additional projects that we're working on. So we hope to keep that that momentum moving and hopefully see some big projects land. So
Can you talk a little bit about the North Interchange? Everybody always wants to talk about the North Interchange because we do have a new restaurant out there, and we're really excited about that. But is there other things going on?
There is, but if I told you, I'd have to kill you. Okay. So that's the hard part about economic development. Actually, there is. I actually have a one pretty big developer that I'm trying to work with, and then a couple other developers just in the last few months that I've worked with. And I have to give Danny Stewart a lot of credit. He's done a lot of the groundwork, and one particular developer that does amazing projects, and so I'm hoping to see some cool stuff come to fruition. I know that Enoch, where Foster's is at, I know that that's owned by Associated, and so Associated is planning on building something there, a grocery store there, and so I think Enoch, Cedar City, wherever these different things are located, is going to benefit that North Interchange, and hopefully we can create some synergy and some momentum. Yeah. But I've had several discussions actually in the last week or so specifically about the North Interchange. So knock on wood, in the next 3 years we'll start to see some real major stuff happening. So
good.
Anyways,
great.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Thank you. HR. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
For the budget, 2023 year, the HR department was approximately 15% below budget, which is great, and we do not foresee any current or anticipated budget issues or concerns for the 2024 year. Hiring and recruiting. Since the last HR report, we've posted, interviewed, and hired 12 full-time positions and 4 part-time positions, as well as 4 internal promotions and transfers, and we're currently in the process of recruiting 8 full-time positions and 3 part-time positions. So we're kind of busy on that end. Points of interest, turnover for the end of 2023 fell at 20.56% or 51 positions. In comparison with 2022, turnover was 17.74% or 44 positions. So present turnover for 2024 is 1.61% or 4 position, which is 1 position lower than last year's 2 months of 2023. Workman's comp, we got some good news. EMOD decreased for the 2024 year to 0.87. So this is because a large claim was dropped off of our plan, which is good news because EMOD figures under 1 will result in lower costs. And I can kind of give a little snapshot. I usually do each time, but the premium modifier reflects the loss experience of a policyholder compared with payroll exposure during that same time period, which is 3 years. So. And then I'm currently tracking a few bills for the 2024 Utah legislative session that really kind of goes hand in hand with HR, particularly with the URS, so that's the retirement system for our employees. Senate Bill 140 covers employer coverage to the 2024 fiscal year, and that's the mandatory employee contribution that's going to be increased. This bill allows participating employers to elect payment of the member contributions that exceed the cap for employees in the Tier 2 retirement system. This will be an ongoing conversation before July just to see if the county can can even cover this expense. And just for a reference, the past few years, Iron County has elected to pay the employee contribution increases for public safety. So this will be an additional coverage as well. So I've included the analysis kind of in your packet just so you can kind of see that for future discussions. We've had some milestone anniversaries this last quarter, celebrating 5 years. Commissioner Paul Cousins, so congrats on that. Attorney Sam Woodall, congrats. Kaylee Pickering in the Tourism Department, Aaron Johnson in the Recorder's Office, Breanne Clark in the Assessor's Office, and Ken Carpenter, Sheriff Ken Carpenter, Charles Day and Ryan Sessions in the Sheriff's Office. Celebrating 15 years, Josh Meredith in IT. Celebrating 20 years, John Whitaker, and gosh, it's like the whole panel today. In the Clerk's Office, John Inglestead and Nathan Houchin in the Sheriff's Office, and Travis Benson in the Road Department. So do you have any questions for me?
We just appreciate you keeping the wheels on this bus.
Oh,
Man,
sometimes it's just a challenge.
she's a busy girl.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Public Defender. Welcome, Candace.
I also appreciate Jennifer and have to lean on her from time to time, so I very much appreciate the time that she gives up for my office and others. Our budget last year was good. There was some items that were not utilized. I would expect a similar outcome for 2024. As far as attorney or employees, that should remain the same for the 2024 year. Some of the resources that do go untapped is either our training budget or defense resources or district court resources. The district court resources are things like private investigators or witness fees, and the reason that can remain unutilized is because we're not having the trials go forward. We always have them slated. As Sam knows, they're scheduled, and there's so many days a year that we have jury trials scheduled, but those don't always end up going forward for a myriad of reasons. So that will also have a trickle effect on us on what if we end up using budget for that or not. But there are, that being said, there are trials scheduled for 2024. We meet regularly with the judges to learn how to balance that. Their concern is just trying to make sure that the caseload and that the backlog doesn't, they want to always cure that. Like, we're still working off backlog from COVID. And so we try to stay up to date on what the backlog looks like, and then just trying to manage and try to get trials to go forward. So that's a regular conversation that occurs. As far as attorneys, public defenders, everybody is doing well. We have I think, jury trial scheduled this week, actually, that's going forward, that one of our newer public defenders is taking on. I've been reaching out with him, learning his needs and staying up to date on that. Switching gears to IDC, which is, funds my position here. I've been in touch with them regularly as this is the legislative session time period. That budget and that renewed legislation looks good. We won't know for sure till the end, but I've had several meetings that would indicate that everything should be continued and renewed. No increases, but continued and renewed. So that's pretty much what we've used to seeing. And so I'll reach out to the commission in March to have a meeting with Mr. Cousins or Paul Cousins for that. And then, so there's only one change, I guess, to staff, and the administrative assistant to my position was previously Shelby Thorne. She resigned a couple of weeks ago, and so I've been working to replace her. So I'll update you guys when we have that official. But any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's an important, your job's important. It's we would appreciate you keeping the system moving.
Oh, thanks. Yes.
For sure.
Good job. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commission. Ellen, you want to start us off?
So, every Thursday through the legislature, we have a Zoom call with UAC, Utah Association of Counties, go through all the bills that are tracking through and things we support. We vote on them. We have a bill tracker. It's been really great to update us on those things. The last couple of weeks we've been working with Jamie Evans, the fair director, and we met with Mayor Garth Green. How it started out was we needed a float that Cedar City had for the fair with our new what do you call it, the theme for the next fair, and when they got talking about the storybook parade that I know Mike's been very involved with, they didn't have it last year. They couldn't get enough people to volunteer to help with that. So Jamie Evans and her staff said, well, maybe we would be willing to take that on to help. It's in November, so that's after the fair's over, the ATV ride, and they don't have a whole lot going on right then. And so she went to City Council and asked them if they could participate in that and help with that. And I believe that's what's going to happen is the fair. Iron County is going to help. It's still going to be in Cedar City. Cedar City is still going to help with it. They're still going to store everything, but all the costumes and all of that kind of thing, it's a lot of work. And so I think we're going to step up and help them with that. It was, I guess, very disappointing to Cedar City that they didn't have it last year.
There's a lot of backlash, a lot of comment.
They were upset. That was a big deal. So the county fair is going to help with that.
The challenge with that is for the amount of people that complain about it, how many are willing to help?
That's exactly it.
Right.
That is exactly it. And I would challenge them to come forward. If you complained, come forward and help, because it takes a lot of people to put on that parade and a lot of volunteers and just shuffling people back and forth and just a lot. It's a big undertaking.
A lot to it.
But it's a really neat parade and really fun for the kids, especially because and adults alike. But anyways, on the 13th, I attended a working group meeting. It was with the NRCS, 4 of the conservation districts, and what it was prioritizing projects that they wanted to work with the monies that they had. So that was Beaver, Iron, and Washington counties that prioritized a lot of those projects that they wanted to work with, and it was really a good meeting. On the 15th, we had another weed board meeting. Of course, Amber Hatch is our new weed supervisor, and she talked a lot about her grants and what she has going forward that way, and I know weeds are a challenge, and we really need to stay on top of them. We met on the 21st with Parowan, Dan, Jessen, and Molly, Mayor Halderman. Paul was at that.
Dave Burton was there.
Dave Burton.
I was
John
there.
was there.
You had
myself.
Bradshaw. What's his name?
Oh yeah, Jason Bradshaw from NRCS, and
Parowan Pumpers.
Parowan Pumpers. He was representing to discuss the gravel pit and the water from the mouth of the canyon, getting it down across. And we talked about it in commission meeting last 2 weeks ago, and Parowan wants to dump that excess water for recharge into the county pit, which we just got to figure it out, and we're working on that. We thought maybe there was some properties that we could trade with Parowan to be able to give them that so they could keep that water in there. But we went, Bruce Anderson, our Public Works Director, went down and with Dan, and they dug a bunch of test holes down on the property to see if maybe that would be a good gravel source for the county. It was not. Darn it. The first one that they dug up was really good, and the rest of them were not. So we're not going to be able to do that, but Parowan has some property to the north of our property, the county's property at Gravel Pit. We'll probably access the bottom of another piece of the county property, and we'll just have to open another pit if there's recharge water in there. There probably won't be every single year, but on the years that there is, we'll have to.
One of the things that came out too was that the earliest they could possibly get water in there would be next spring. So we've got a minute to kind of get ready for that.
Yeah, and we can work on that, this spring. I went to the annual Lincoln Day dinner that's put on by the Heritage Festival. Nate, it was really a nice dinner, and Nate Moses came and talked about water rights, which I think was very beneficial to mostly ranchers and farmers and a lot of the locals. But that was a good event. I think that's all I had.
Mr. Cousins.
All right. I attended a UAC board meeting last week in Salt Lake. Drove up for that. It was a good meeting. And then our UAC board and staff, they do a great job, and it really is a benefit to our county and all counties in Utah. I stayed the night, went to the Yellow Cake Caucus the next morning. It's a really interesting presentation. They usually have presentations about energy and nuclear. They're really focused on a lot of nuclear stuff, but there was a gentleman, can't think of his name, but he was with Energy Fuels, and they process uranium in Blanding, and then they're starting to do some rare earth material processing. Things are really fascinating, and he did a presentation. And then Red Acre Farms, Sarah and Cimbria Patterson, they brought breakfast and did a presentation. It was nice. They're always up there, and just give them a shout out. They're up there watching out for the small food producers and legislation that they're playing defense a lot, because little things get slipped into bills that could hurt, people being able to provide food for themselves. And it's really important, and really appreciate what they do up there. Kind of watching a bill. It's HB 562. It's a Fair Park reinvestment area. That's been a pretty hot topic lately, where they're looking to raise TRT taxes throughout the state 1.6%. 0.1% of that would come back to EMS and public safety or search and rescue. But that would they're talking about building a ballpark up north for the Millers to try to bring in a national baseball team. I was contacted by the Washington County Commissioners that were very concerned about the amount of money we would be sending up there. I have my reservations about it. I've talked to our legislators about that, legislators as well about that. So that's one to watch. I had a call from a concerned constituent. We've got an issue out to Iron Springs, and I called Rich Wilson. I saw he stepped out, but apparently the speed limit sign's going one way or one speed, and the speed limit coming the other way another. And some people are getting cited for going the speed limit going the other way. That's a lower speed limit. Anyway, we've got to get that figured out. We might want to meet after for a minute, just discuss what we want to do there for speed limits, and give Richard some direction so they can make signs and get that brought up so it's consistent on both lanes.
That was the Iron Springs Road?
Mm-hmm.
Iron Springs.
Yeah. apparently I think it's 50. Well, I think it's 55 from 56 out to like Bowman's, and then it drops down to 50, and then up to 55. But then coming back, it stays 50, and that's been and I guess there's been some citations written. So WECO and BZI and some of those businesses out there are concerned. So we need to look at that. The Garth Green reached out in an email to all of us about they're going to take the wastewater treatment plant effluent to a type 1. We've been putting out type 2 effluent for many years, and they're going to take it to a type 1 so they can use it more for irrigation and different things, probably with homes. And they wanted somebody from the county to represent that. I volunteered to do it. Unless one of you two want to do it, I'd be happy to do it if you'd like. We have a meeting on Wednesday, so if you guys are good with that, I'll go to that.
Yeah.
I had a meeting with Mike Clark this last week. Last year with all the runoff we had to run a lot of water at the Woodbury split. We had to divert more water than the 60% that typically goes north to try to help with flooding issues out to Quichapa. It's getting high and threatening some private property out there. So we were just looking ahead to possibly get some easements so we could dig a channel to possibly build a reservoir so the Clarks could take some of that water, put it in a reservoir, and then the excess would flow out to Rush Lake and kind of be a win-win for everybody. Because right now when we divert too much water west, it gets to be an inconvenience for some of those ranchers out there that run their livestock. So that was a challenge last year, so we're looking at that, and we're in the middle of that. And then there's been some discussion. I didn't listen to all of it. I caught some of the Cedar City Council meeting, but there's a lot of discussion about the Woodbury split. I think Rich was maybe at that meeting. I listened to some of it online. I need to go back and finish listening to it. But there's a lot of debate about that structure and what we want to do moving forward as far as putting in some controls where we could more easily control that water and in which way it goes. But anytime you start messing with a structure like that that's been in over 100 years and it's been a 60-40 split, and you start messing with it, you raise some real concerns. So we've been cautious with that. So I know the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District, they're redoing the inlet into the Schmidt pit to allow more water for recharge. They're working on the Western Rock pit and just doing some great things there. Been monitoring that. And
before you move off of water, I had it was actually Robert Ennis reached out to me, and he'd asked about the diversion point above the Woodbury split and kind of right below the tourism building, and he was just concerned because he didn't feel like it was locked and secure as it should be. And I haven't walked it, but is that the North and West Irrigation Company, or who? Do you know who?
Might be Union Field. And we'd probably just need to contact the irrigation company on that. That's not our purview.
No, right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I was just wondering. So you think maybe Union Field?
I would.
North and West.
I think Union Field and Northwest. Isn't that the two irrigation companies go that way?
Ones that I know of.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
No.
Goes through our property.
You reminded me that he had reached out to me about that. So
well, that's all I have.
I'll just hit the highlights real quick. I spent some time back in Washington, D.C. I sit on the Justice and Public Safety Committee for the National Association of Counties. It's a really good group as far as advocating for justice and public safety. Things to do with our Department of Corrections, FEMA. Anyway, had a good opportunity to meet with those people. That's a really good conference just to meet with our local legislators, to build those relationships, talk about issues that we've got here. This has been mentioned a couple of times. We've traveled to the state legislature several times. Just want to thank John Whitaker for being available. These trips haven't been well planned. Usually we get notice at 5 p.m. that we've got an issue in committee tomorrow at 10 a.m. And so there's a flurry of phone calls to organize, leave at 4 in the morning and go and do those things. But John's been super helpful there. Sheriff Carpenter, Lieutenant Shaver at the jail, Marcus Keller, who's remind me of his title again, John.
Municipal advisor.
Municipal advisor has been really great to drop what he has to do and meet us at the legislature to provide us with information that's pertinent to share with our reps and senators. I really want to thank Senator Vickers and Representative Shipp. They've been very helpful through this whole process and very available. We're really represented well here in Iron County.
I'd like to echo. I just appreciate. I appreciate.
There he is.
Yeah, it's funny because Mark
say his name. He's like Beetlejuice.
But I appreciate Rex, and his responsiveness to what the public said, and running the bill, and we're not sure how it's going to go, and we've gone up and kind of fought the good fight, but I just appreciate what he's done.
I know, been super helpful and super responsive.
He spoke eloquently at multiple times about the bill. So.
Yeah, no, those guys have been great. I spent a lot of time with economic development. Dave left. David Johnson, our new guy. I spent a day with him the other day. Brought him over here to the county. Made sure that he knew John and Luke and Nicole and the people that he's going to rub shoulders with here as far as our staff and elected officials. We've met with BZI, and BZI is getting so big. You can meet with BZI, but it was a little more specialized. And I don't even remember. There's some new folks at BZI. But anyway, we met with them, had a good talk about stuff. I just kind of sit in the background. I facilitate the meetings, and then I just get out of their way. We went on a tour of Port 15 with Brent Drew. That was actually really educational. With all the new development out in Port 15, one of the concerns that we have when we're talking about development is being able to supply the workforce. So far, every new business, every new plant, every new development out there has not had any problem filling their workforce. In fact, they've had a really good, robust hiring pool, been able to get the quality employees that they need, and haven't had a problem filling positions, which that was really good to hear.
It's good to know. I mean, what is it? If you build it, they will come. Are people moving in to take these jobs? Or
I don't know.
Really
that was kind of surprising. That was a specific thing we asked with this development. How are we looking for workforce? And everybody's full staffed. Nobody's looking.
We've had a couple taken from us,
from
our business.
Yes. Might be good to do or get some analysis done and kind of understand that better. Maybe that's a function that we can.
No, that was good. It was cold and windy. We went out there and we all jumped in my truck and Brent had plans and went over some of the master plans, but that was the one report was that we're really doing well as far as employees. That it's not an issue. We spent the day the other day talked about the small business grant awards. It's a really tough process. I mean, there's so many businesses that need a leg up, and it's, we like you said, we had $1.2 million in requests with $60,000 to be able to dole out. So it's hard.
What was that TRTT? Was that?
No, this is through the economic. I don't know. There's so many acronyms. It's through the Governor's Office of Economic Development, which I don't even know if that's their name anymore. But it's a small business development grant that we get every year, and it's administered through the small business administered through the Economic Development Advisory Board. So that includes me, Maria, Mayor Halterman from over here. Brent Drew sits on that board. Brett Hauser from Bryan Head. Dave Johnson. Those were the folks that were there the other day. It was hard. That was really tough. And the day before that, I was on day two of restaurant tax, which is exactly the same format. So I've spent a lot of time trying to make a little bit of money go a really long way. It's hard, but it's good. We talked about FEMA stuff. had an opportunity to meet with Senator Mike Lee's office the other day. It was a really short meeting. They just wanted to kind of touch base about, talk about relationships between the county and the federal agencies, the BLM and the Forest Service, and what they could do to help accommodate, those type of relationships. We had a good discussion there, and those guys are always available to help us out. So that's the highlights. We're behind, but we do have a really short agenda today. Let's just take 10 minutes. I'm going to go catch up on signing things because I'm afraid of Carrie. Let's come back at 10:25. pen in there.
Probably got an extra.
I got it. It's somewhere. I stuck it in a pocket somewhere, like I'm in third grade. I got it in my back pocket.
Matthew's so bad about putting stuff in different pockets and he can't find anything. He loses everything.
I'm the same.
The other night.
Crazy.
We're rolling.
Rolling.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the 10 o'clock calendar. It's about 10:30. Let's get started with agenda item number 1. This is, I got to get my glasses out for this one. It's a public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of proposed zone change from residential 2-acre R2 to agricultural 20-acre A20, located at approximately 6,000 to 6,400 north and 6,300 to 6,400 west in Burrell. The applicant is the Escalante Farms LLC. It's approximately 38.06 acres, lots 1 through 16. Block H, Santa Ana Ranchos, Unit 3, Valley of Vision subdivision, located within the legal description as provided in the agenda. We'll turn the time over to Reed Erickson.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Planning Commission recommended approval on this zone change. This is a subdivision out in the Burrell area that has not had any development on it, and that block of 16 lots on the very west side of that, lots 1 through 16, is what they're asking to rezone. This is located out just a little bit east of Modena, northwest, of course, of Burrell, or the junction, the Burrell Junction, out north of Highway 56. This is a zoning map showing the mess that we have out there. That's the only thing we can call it. You know, I don't know what else to call it out there. It's I'd love to go back, rewrite the rules at 1970 on and fix a lot of that problem, but it is what we have. So the Escalante Farms has asked that they vacate. We're in the process of vacating, entertaining an application to vacate the road in that part of the subdivision. But in order to do that, we need to have a zone change so that they're 20-acre lots. Right now they're 2-acre zoning, and so this is a first step in that process. They're trying to put a pivot right there, and you can see that part of it falls on these 16 lots. And their interest is in the future to be able to vacate this road that runs right down through here on the map. There's no road there physically right now, but there is a right-of-way. And so they would like to rezone, and then we'll come back with a application to vacate that road. And we've started to advertise for that. They've already applied, and so they will actually vacate these 16 lots out of the subdivision and vacate this road. This is we just always try to look at the flood issues related to where water is and any issues there. This is nothing in that area, no concern. This is the original subdivision plat. You can see it's Block H, lots 1 through 16. And there's no improvements out there. There's no through roads on the property. They're trying to go back to A20 so they can use it like the adjacent property and make a pivot there. Planning Commission thought it was a good idea. The more of that area that we can get out of those R2 lots, the better off we are, especially when there's not anything on them currently. And so they recommended approval. There's no other services out there. And so that's where we're at. Are there any questions specific to that, or? I think we're ready for.
So they own all that.
They own all 16 lots.
They've been able to buy all those up. Did you say, well, why don't you buy the rest of all of them?
Yes. And they're actually trying, you know, when they can pick something up out there in that mess, they've been really good about recognizing the problems and trying to do some agricultural.
There's no building on any of this.
On any of those 16 lots. There's some a little further over east, but nothing out that far west on that subdivision.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Chair will declare the public hearing open on agenda item number 1. Take any comments or questions. Seeing none, declare the public hearing closed and turn the time back over to Mr. Erickson.
We have, of course, the evaluation that we do for considerations of rezoning, and all related to the idea that as we look at availability of services and what the issues are with drainage, access, emergency provision, provision of emergency response, all of the considerations. Of course, this makes more sense to go to A20 because of the lack of all of those things. It would not make sense to go the other way because we don't have any of those things, of those services. So, in evaluating that makes sense to meet the criteria or the considerations for rezoning to A20. So, Planning Commission recommended, and options are to approve with modifications, deny, or to continue.
You ready for a motion?
Yep, go ahead.
I will move to approve the proposed zone change from residential 2-acre R2 to agriculture 20-acre A20 located at approximately 6,000 to 6,400 North and 6,300 to 6,400 West Burl, Utah 84714. Applicant is Escalante Farms, LLC. It's approximately 38.06 acres, lots 1 through 16, Block H, Santa Ana Ranchos, Unit 3, Valley of Vision subdivision located within the description in the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. If can I impose just a quick brief comment, since you've got a shorter agenda? You're going to be hearing, and we've had a request, some questions about the county establishing a boundary commission. We have a couple of annexations right now that are going on, one in Parowan and one in Cedar, one in Bryan Head, that there's some question on, that people are being included in an annexation that don't want to be, but they're kind of surrounded. And the way that the state law is it's hard for them to actually qualify as a protester, because you have to be what they call a owner of rural real property. And to define that, it's really hard to qualify for most of these small lots. It's like 1,500 acres of agricultural production land. So the emphasis is to encourage the annexation when they're included with other properties that don't make sense for the county to provide services for in the future. We went through this a little while ago and had a question about that on a Parowan annexation, and we did not establish the boundary commission. We went through you'll recall we talked about whether we should do it now or should we just wait until we actually have a need, and decided that we would wait. And it's probably been a year since that's happened, and I've had 2 calls in the last couple of weeks of whether or not we're going to establish a boundary commission. I guess what I would and rely on Sam's recommendation as well, but to address those requests by waiting to see whether we have a qualified protester that can qualify under the rural real property, rather than getting ahead of ourselves and establishing a boundary commission to evaluate those if we don't really need to. So if you have that, please direct those questions to either Sam or myself, and we can try to answer those, and then we'll see whether we have to go down that road or not. But with the amount of development we have and some of the larger properties and the attitude that we've tried to project in encouraging including some of these other properties that are in the county when a larger annexation, not to leave it out when there's no way for us to service that. It doesn't make sense. And it's a different attitude than a lot of the elected officials have had in the communities, especially in the past, is that they don't want to annex anybody that doesn't want to be annexed. But sometimes for planning, it doesn't make sense to leave them out. So appreciate your support on that, and we'll just work through that as it comes up. I just wanted to make you aware of it.
Thank you. And it makes for cleaner boundaries. I mean, as you go, instead of having weird.
We have a lot of weird right now.
But we do.
That came as a result of.
We appreciate what you're doing moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, that's all.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Move on to agenda item number 2, public comments. Ask that comments be held to 3-minute time limit. Should not repeat others' comments, only for items not on the agenda. No items related to commission's role as an appeal board. Comments should be directed to the commissioners, and no attack on other folks' characters. Do we have any public comments today? Come up and state your name. And
good morning. I'm Diana Stillard from New Harmony. And public comment today, but it will be on your agenda in 2 weeks. And that's the proposed development in New Harmony Valley, the Iron County portion of New Harmony Valley. And all I want to say today is lots of concerns, obviously, but particularly for Iron County. You have that Tier 3 designation and the spa zone, the special planned area within it. And it's kind of, for me, it's kind of wide open. There's not a lot of ordinances in there. There's a lot of good ideas. There's a lot of feasibility. There's a lot of may. There's a lot of can. There's a lot of areas in there, and it hasn't been used in this fashion before for in a completely new area, in a community that doesn't want it, but in a completely new area. So I would just ask that you guys are familiar. I know you get from Reed and you get from your attorney the information ahead of time, but look and see the potential for, I'm just going to say issues, I think, with that Tier 3. Our other concern is the state ordinance about special services districts. Those are useful. We have one in New Harmony for the fire district. And originally, well over a year ago, I started looking at it because you can also use them for environmental things, for parks and recreation, which I'm working on, some things like that. There's a lot of potential for interesting things there. But I went back and looked at it again, and in terms of, because that's what's going to be required to run this place, they're actually, like, my opinion, they're little monsters in the making. Because it's a state code, not a county code, it's a state code, and they get established, and I think if you read through it with just a little bit of a skeptical eye, and that's all I'm asking before, because this, I don't know how it won't be on your agenda in the next 2 weeks from now, and I think those two things are really significant. That's it.
All right,
Thank
you.
I will just mention, thank you, Diane, for the reminder. I did want to invite any participation for the March.
Reed, could you come up to the microphone? Sorry.
The item that Diana referred to is on the agenda for the Planning Commission on March 7th.
Right.
You're invited to that. It would be a good discussion. It will be their second hearing on it. And then we have also advertised for a public hearing for the County Commission to hear that on March 11th. So that'd be your next meeting.
I will be in Salt Lake at a doctor's appointment with my wife that day, so I won't be
Okay.
there. I'm sorry.
So it's on the agenda for discussion,
I'll be there.
and also as is also the public hearing for the special services district for that area that Diana referred to. So those two items will both be there, and so any information that you want to get at the Planning Commission meeting, I think, will be helpful as well. So that's all.
This notion of the special service district being a problem, it would be great to, no one's really had a chance to kind of address that in this meeting. It would be great at some point if somebody could speak to what the intent and how the special service district is going to work, only because
I think that's the
Diane
purpose
is not
of
the only one
meeting.
that's
Are they
on this.
gonna go into
Is the public
detail
hearing. Their attorney
the
will be here, and
planning
they'll
and zoning?
explain why they're requesting it, why they're trying to set it up. It's really a requirement of us. They're doing it because they have to provide central sewer. And the only way they can provide central sewer is through a special service district, because it has to be an entity that can own and operate the sewer system, and that cannot be done privately. It cannot be done, it has to be an entity of some kind, a governmental, quasi-governmental entity. It just can't be a developer that owns and operates a sewer system. And so our ordinance requires that they establish this, and it's a requirement of the development agreement. So the reason they're going through this process is because we're requiring it. If we approve the subdivision, they have to, for timing wise, let me just lay out the order of things. What's anticipated is that they've applied for a general plan amendment, which is the Tier 3 change, which allows for the spa zone, applied for the spa zone change, which allows for this higher density, a quasi-municipal entity that can be a subdivision community, or what we're calling a village. And then required as part of that is the development agreement that then locks in the developer and the county to assure that those things will happen in the future. The development agreement will require that they create a special service district or entity that can own and operate a sewer system, because that's a requirement of the Tier 3 SPA zone project development. So it is kind of tied together in our requirements, but they have to provide that legal mechanism and that entity that will be able to own, operate, and run that. It was intended originally only for the sewer. And we'll talk about that more at the next meeting, but we're also considering, because it's a private development and the streets won't be public, that they also own and operate the roads and streets, so that they're collecting enough money there to take care of those as well. So those are the two things that it was in the notice that was given before. It was for sanitary sewer and for roads transportation. So that's what it'll be about, and we'll have an explanation and how they operate, how they're set up, and a little more information about them.
Yeah, it seems like the concern has been,
absolute
scope
concern.
creep and
Yeah,
mission
you don't
creep.
want to
Yeah.
create something that
Yeah.
just becomes a problem. It's got to have.
So,
and they're limited somewhat because they don't have a lot of people in the subdivision now to create a service area that they can choose from. There's options of a special service district and a service district. And they don't really have the option of a service district because they don't have a bunch of people there now that can fill those positions. So it has to be a special service district. And so it's kind of under the auspices of the county to appoint those people. And those can be people who don't even live in that subdivision that can that manages kind of like the Water Conservancy District in a way. But they can then establish that, and then as it gets down the road, then they could switch that to a service district from a special service district. So there are options, and we'll talk about what those are. And I'm not the greatest expert, but there are legal minds that have a lot more experience with those, and they'll be here to present that as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reed.
Thanks.
All right, Jen, move on to item number 3, personnel.
All right, the first 3 are in the Sheriff's Office Corrections. Jason Duffy was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and interview process to backfill the vacant full-time Corrections Deputy 1 position effective 3/31/2024. Tanner McIntosh was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and interview process to backfill the vacant full-time Corrections Deputy 1 position effective 3/18/2024. Emily Campbell has completed all skills and requirements to receive a promotion from a Deputy 1 to a Deputy 2, effective February 18th, 2024. In Sheriff's Office Patrol, Michael Sanner was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and interview process to backfill the vacant full-time patrol bailiff position, effective 3/20/2024. In the Road Department, Trent Zaccotti, yay, I said it right this time, was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and interview process to backfill the vacant full-time maintenance worker position effective 3/5/2024. And then I will give you the drafts really quick of these if you want to reference those.
Thanks.
Did on Michael Sonar, it just says February 20th, but did you mean March? And you said March.
Said 3, but
Did I say 3? Okay, it is February 20th.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay, no, that's okay. Just wanted to clarify for the minutes.
I appreciate that. All right, so the policy updates, Section 15, reimbursement for travel expense, mirrors the last commission meeting presentation for all of the figure changes, as well as some of the updates to kind of reflect the expenditures as far as mileage for gas reimbursements, as well as for meals. And I can cover that just a little bit, just to kind of do a synopsis of what was discussed. Let me grab that paper really quick. All right, so the 2024 per diem rates for breakfast Utah Standard, if it's not an increased rate, which we're going to allow for now, is $13 for breakfast, $15 for lunch, and $26 for dinner. Mileage without a pool vehicle available will be 67 cents per mile. And then if you have a personal choice to use your own vehicle, it'll be 0.336 cents per mile. And then also the changes updating the reflective RV lodging or staying with family and friends within that standard 30 miles in radius of the conference you're attending is $50 per night. And then they have also changed to reflect the cars and SUVs being a more cost-effective way to travel. The mileage rate that each of the departments will be billed will be 0.336 for a car and SUV, and then if the necessity rises where you need to take a truck, it will be 0.418 per mile billed to your department. There's been a couple of questions on what reflects a continental breakfast that I will leave up to you to decide. There's been several people that state that sometimes there is not a full continental breakfast available, but there is a grab-and-go type of a breakfast that is available through that hotel rate. And I just put in the policy to kind of reflect the employee's responsibility to take a snapshot of the actual website of the place that they're staying for reimbursement purposes, just to make sure that we are notified of what kind of a breakfast they do provide. We also have had some employees express concern if they have some food allergies to reflect that as well. And through the HR department, we will funnel through those requests and have kind of the medical established, so we're not kind of violating the HIPAA kind of rules. But if you have any questions, that's basically what has been changed. It's not really a huge change, just kind of reflecting what happened the last 2 weeks ago. Any questions on that?
And then if don't they have to get the when they go to Washington D.C. or whatever? There's a different meal cost on those out of town type things.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. So they do need to, the employee's responsibility is to but to go on the gsa.gov/travel website, type in the location of where they are traveling, which reflects what the rates will be for that meal. Also, we're trying to make sure that we kind of have those checks and balances in place to make sure that all meals are covered. If you're going to be using your county credit card, we need to have those itemized receipts just so the office can make sure that we're not falling under some sketchy area. We've made it kind of basically now a rule this year that we will be billing back employees that overspend on the county credit card. And unfortunately, we can't take that out of their pay. It violates a couple of no-nos on that, but they will have to pay us back for that if they go over.
Okay.
Good.
Any question, comment?
Motion.
Motion.
Moved for approval of all the personnel and policy update A through D.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we have any non-delegated? Any board?
I don't think.
I don't with mine.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
We're good.
Well,
Do a motion for all the personnel, or was I asleep?
Yeah.
oh, we did it.
Okay, I was asleep.
You seconded it.
Okay. I'm answering a text, and I just.
You acted.
I wrote it
like you were
down.
saying.
It's good.
It sounded good on.
Okay, just take me in.
All right. Declare the meeting closed.
All right.